Hello there, right here, and today I'm going to show you this crazy design, which is the first automatic grass block as well as mycelium block farm. If you guys haven't heard, it is now possible to make infinite amounts of dirt easily. I designed this amazing, infinitely automatic dirt farm. So make sure you watch that video first, as that will cover the main core parts of this farm. If you enjoy cool things in Minecraft, make sure you guys subscribe, as one of my goals is to design a farm for every item in the game. And I am over 90% of the way, which you can check out on the document, which is linked below. And what I did is I turned my dirt farm so that instead of just getting dirt out of it, we convert it into grass blocks or mycelium blocks, and then we collect them as items. Now the farm might look kind of complex, but remember, everything that is complex can be broken down into smaller, simpler pieces. So I'll give you guys a quick rundown on how this farm works. Everything is working around the very center here. This is the main hub. So in the center here, we have stone blocks being pushed in from the side from a stone generator just over there. The stone blocks are then being pushed into the center. Then what we have is a moss block, which is being bone milled using dispensers. That will convert nearby stone into moss block. The moss block is then ready for the player to place an azalea plant on top of it. And the player is standing over here, azalea in offhand, and having the right click button held down. And then they'll just place it in from where they are in the minecart. And then once the azalea is in this location, it'll be in front of this dispenser, which will bone mill it until it turns into an azalea tree. Then from there, we have a system that drops TNT from two TNT dupers, which will blow the blocks of the tree down into items. Items are then collected by the water stream, and they are taken over here and dropped near the player, where he can replenish his azalea stack. The rest of the items are put into the hopper, which goes into item sorter that sorts out all the main items that the player would want. In my case, I'm collecting mostly the logs, and then the rest I am just having go into a composter, turning it into bone meal, which is feeding the system, since we do have two dispensers which need to be refilled with bone meal. Next part has to do with the dirt. So after the azalea tree grows up, it turns into a rooted dirt block. Then the player will use its hoe onto the rooted dirt block, and this will convert it into a normal dirt block using a new feature of 1.17. And when it turns into dirt, it's also going to drop off a hanging root item. It all happens quite quickly. Then what we'll end up with is a dirt block. The dirt is then pushed by pistons, and then the next part is different from my dirt farm. In that one, what I did is I pushed the blocks up here near TNT so it blows up and turns into items. But instead what we're doing is we're piping the blocks around the outside here, and we're putting them near some grass blocks. This will give them a chance of converting the dirt that comes off of this into grass or mycelium, depending on which one you have nearby. And then the grass blocks are pushed near Endermen, which are coming from a small Enderman farm that I built over here. And the Endermen are coming nearby them. There's a chance that they will grab this block and hold it in their hands. So you can see we've got a few Endermen with some grass and mycelium blocks in their hands. And then what we do is we just have these guys drop all the way down until they hit the ground, which is quite far to instantly kill Endermen. And then from here they die and will drop what they're holding as an item, and then those are being collected by the hoppers, put into this chest over here. You can see we got some grass blocks, also got some mycelium, and if they happen to pick up a block that doesn't get converted, it'll just be a normal dirt block. I also get the ender pearls off these guys. And I've also designed a farm for every single new 1.17 item. You can check out each farm with my simple farms playlist linked below. So the only thing I didn't really mention is this piece over here, and this is just another way to get more bone meal for the system. This is my moss block farm, which produces infinite amounts of bone meal without any players online. Also produces infinite amount of fuel. And there's a small attachment where you can get unlimited amounts of cobble. Now, since I did cover the majority of these pieces in my dirt farm, I'm just going to focus on the changes which I made in order to make it work so that it produces grass blocks. The first change I did is I switched out so the player is no longer using a shovel, but instead is using a hoe. This way you get the extra item of having a hanging root pop off of it. But since you are using a hoe, there is a chance that since you turn it into dirt, you'll then hoe it again and turn it into farmland. This doesn't really hurt the dirt block at all, because it'll turn back into a dirt block once it goes over there. But it does use up more durability on the hoe. You can adjust this timer right here. If you make it shorter, it gives the player less time to convert the block, and therefore it's less likely for them to turn it into farmland. But if the time being is too short, you see we end up with some rooted dirt in the system. The biggest change is making all the dirt be pushed near some grass blocks so that there's a chance that the grass will try to spread from these source blocks onto the dirt block. Let's take a look at how the game actually decides on where grass should spread. So in the center there is the grass block, and when the game random ticks it, it will try to spread to a nearby dirt. All the brown glass you see is places where that grass can turn that dirt block into a grass block. You can see it can go up by 1 block and over, but it can also go down as far as 3 blocks. Now the other requirement is that the grass block that's the source needs to have at least a light level of 9 or above the 1 meter that's above it. And the dirt block that it tries to spread to needs to make sure that there's no blocks above it that prevent light from going through. So no like solid blocks. But the light level isn't important. So that's exactly what I did. I put in a bunch of rows of grass blocks. So these 3 rows right here can all spread down to this row here. And this is the row of dirt that's getting pushed in. It's getting converted. I also added some extras right above it, and I did put some on this side as well. I just couldn't put them here because the Enderman there, but I did put them over here. I just decided to put some mycelium to kind of mix it up so you can see that you can get both variations if you want to. And I also put some more grass blocks above it and on the opposite side. So there's a lot of source grass blocks which the game can random tick and then will try to spread to the dirt blocks. I also set it up so if this row happened to fill up, which it shouldn't, but let's say somebody's standing too close to the Enderman platform so none of them can spawn, it could fill up, in which case it doesn't actually break the system, it just pushes the extra dirt up at this row right here, and then if it completely fills everything up, then the player just goes back and forth and will keep turning the dirt block in front of them into farmland, but it won't break the farm. Also notice I have torches on all the sides of these dirt blocks. That way the area above them nice and bright as one of the requirements. I also placed a lot of trapdoors and blocks around these sources. That way the Endermen that fall down in here don't try to reach over and grab these blocks over here. They'll only grab the ones that we want them to grab. Like I said before, there can be blocks above the ones that are being converted. Even can be slabs, as long as they're the top ones. And the light level isn't important, so I don't have to have any torches in here. This very top row of grass blocks just helps convert these extra dirt in case they end up over here. But you probably don't need that one as long as you run the farm and the Endermen are always spawning. So spawning the Endermen works pretty simple. We just got a small platform here and they will spawn in because they are greater than 24 blocks away from the player's AFKing. And we are here in the Ender Mansion, so the only mob that's going to spawn is Enderman. And I chose a location that is between the main end island, which is where you fight the dragon, and the outer end islands, which is where all the islands start and where you can find end cities. And that way you don't have to do any spawn proofing in order to get Endermen to easily spawn into your farm. So they spawn in here, and what we have is a Endermite that is inside of a minecart. And Endermen are mad at these guys and they want to try to kill them. So they're going to get as close as possible, and what they end up going to do is trying to stand underneath of him, in which case there is a hole and they just fall straight down in it. And we help them by putting some trapdoors, which they think they can walk over top of like a full block, but instead are only a partial block, and they never actually reach the Endermite. Once they fall down in here, they're going to be mad at the Endermite still, but they're also going to be near this grass block, and they're going to fall through some cobwebs to slow them down so they have a chance of picking up the grass block, like that guy did right there. They can pick it up from quite a distance. They can pick it underneath of them as well as way above them. And this location seemed about the best in order to get the most chances of them to pick it up. And the Endermen that are stuck here can also reach way up here and grab from this row. I also let the Endermen kind of spread out, so you see they occupy 3 blocks across. That way they have a greater area of being able to reach blocks. They can actually reach dirt blocks way over here as well as way over here. And if you want to make sure that your blocks are always converted before they're placed in front of the Enderman, you can pipe them around a little bit longer so they have more chances to be converted before the Enderman can pick them up. This is just a convenient spot to place them in relative to where the farm produces the dirt. So after these guys pick them up, there is just a drop chute. We just don't want the Enderman to push themselves off to the side. You can have this thing completely filled in, or you can leave some spaces in here. There is a chance that they might try to place it on their block. And if you don't want that, like you can fill it in solid, or you place like buttons there so they can't place in blocks. But then there is a 42 block drop, which makes them instantly die when they do hit the ground. And you do want to make sure they die immediately, because if they take damage, there's a chance that they will decide to teleport somewhere else. And you don't want them teleporting into the farm. We just have some carpets here and hoppers, and then the output chest. This is at the very bottom of the world, so if you want to place in like a storage system or something, maybe build the farm a little bit higher up so it gives you room to build storage to hold this all. because it is going to fill up with ender pearls pretty fast. You might just want to destroy those and only keep the dirt. Now the size of this platform is pretty important because you don't want a ton of endermen spawning. Otherwise what they're going to do is pile up in this area here, and they're all going to be stuck in the cobweb. They're going to get so many that they're going to get max cramming, which means they're going to start taking damage just by being close to other entities. And if that occurs, then that damage can allow them to choose to teleport to nearby places, which means they can teleport into this farm and cause some problems. You could go around and try to spawn proof the entire thing so there's no place for them to teleport to, but it's just not really possible with stuff constantly growing and changing. And it's really not worth it. It's better just to prevent them from teleporting in the first place by giving them plenty of room to spread out and also keeping your platform small. So if you do see any endermen teleporting out, it means you're just spawning in too many endermen and just shrink your platform down. But I did went ahead and lit up the entire farm so that there's no area for them to spawn into the farm, even though these are still valid places for them to teleport to. One of the worst things that they could do is come over here and kill the endermite, and that's why I kept him up high in the air. So even if one does teleport in, like right here, he won't be able to get to the actual endermite, and if he tries to get there, he's actually going to get centered and he's going to fall down here with all the rest of them. And I try to make it so that it doesn't matter where they would accidentally teleport to, they would be able to pathfind back over here and fall down there. But just keep that in mind not to place in any blocks that the enderman can pick up in the farm, otherwise they might take those. Now even though this entire farm is automatic, it's not infinitely automatic, meaning that it can't go on forever without any new player input. And that is because you guys might remember in the dirt farm, actually over here on this side I had a pigment portal farm which would supply the player with infinite amount of XPs, which were being used to heal the tool that the player is using to turn the rid dirt into dirt. Now since we are here in the Ender Dimension, we can't put down nether portals and they won't produce that XP source through the angry pigmen. So the player will be using durability up on the tool. But if you do use a netherite tool, they have over 2,000 durability, and if you have unbreaking on it, it's going to make it act like there's 4,000. So having a single hole like this will actually last you 22 hours of AFKing. So it don't really matter that you don't have an XP source. If you really wanted to have an XP farm, you could do something weird where you have like a villager breeding system that produces villagers, and then like a zombie conversion system, and then the zombies automatically being killed by player means, which would drop XPs. I have done such a system in the past, but it is pretty complicated. I don't really think it's worthwhile. In this farm, I also made some other small tweaks to kind of make it a little bit easier to use. One of them is that I made it so the player actually is moved closer to the place where he places in the items, which makes it easier to aim on that very small area. And I also changed it so that the items that come off of the farm can be picked up by the player even though he's a little bit further now. And this is done by using a chest as well as a new amethyst cluster to get a special hitbox. I also made some other small tweaks to the redstone to make it a little bit nicer. If you're wondering what this command does here, it just takes these empty chests and it puts them over here. So that way it constantly empties this chest so that there's no items messing it up when I do long test of this machine. But typically in survival you would be using up your items or be putting into shulker boxes. Now the rates of this farm are similar to my dirt farm, producing over 400 dirt, but in this case it's converting it to grass or mycelium. You also get around 3,000 oak logs, 700 sticks, and 1,200 azalea per hour. If I make a block for block tutorial, or if anyone else does, I will link it down in the description. Otherwise, you guys can check out this world download to see exactly how to build it. And keep in mind, if you are playing on a server, that it is most likely modded, which could affect any type of farm. Also, if I do make any changes to this farm, I'll put them in the description or in the pinned comment. Infinite amounts of grass as well as mycelium for all your Minecraft projects. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like as well as share it with other Minecrafters so they can learn about this cool device. I would like to thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye!